Hello and welcome to the Behind the Beat podcast with me, Katie Russell from Planet Drum Music School in London. Join us as we talk to special guests and industry professionals about all things music. Let's get started. Hello and welcome to the Behind the Beat podcast with me, Katie Russell from Planet Drum Music School in London. Today we have some very special guests with us. We have Heather Ticheli and her two boys, Max and Atty. Today we're just going to be talking a little bit about homeschooling. The two boys do the Arts Awards, the Trinity Arts Awards. So let's just dive straight in. Heather, tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got into homeschooling Max and Atty.
I formerly worked in film production and then retrained as an art therapist. But when I had my children, I realized it was going to be far too stressful to combine paid work and mothering. So I have really been a home educating mother for the past 16 years. And Atticus was actually in school. He went to nursery and then he had one disastrous term in reception. And it became clear that it was not really working for anyone. And we started to suspect he might have some non-neurotypicality. So we took him out of school thinking we would maybe try again when he was 7, like they do in Scandinavia. But by the time he was 7, we'd been home educating with such success for 2 years that we really never looked back. And of course, by then we had discovered that he has dyslexia and dyspraxia and some working memory and sensory processing issues. And we were able to address those challenges really well through home ed while playing to his strengths and giving him lots of time to do the things he was really, really good at and really loved. Yeah.
Amazing. And Atticus, so you've basically pretty much, since you can remember, have always been homeschooled. How have you found it? Have you found it really beneficial?
I'm in school now at the moment and have been since year 10. So I sort of know the difference, but I liked it a lot. I think it is generally a good thing if you're somebody like me and you do it in the right way. It certainly helped with my music.
Yeah, because I was going to say you're both all really musical, aren't you? Have you always been musical, or is that just something that you focused a lot on learning?
I think my mum knew I was going to be musical, but it was just a question of when to get like an instrument and which one to get. And so I got the piano. We got the piano when I was about 9 or 10, and so I played it since then. But home ed gave me a lot of time to develop. I had 4 years from when I started school in year 10, from when I started when I got the piano. So a lot of that time was music, and then also I think home ed helped me academically because I was always slightly behind, but then I actually managed to kind of gain ground in academic subjects at my own pace.
Well, I guess it's all on your own pace, and it's pretty much one-on-one. Whereas I guess if you're in a big class, you know,
you can.
It's not going to be like that, is it?
You can get more learning much more effectively and efficiently if you're not in a classroom. Since I've been at school, what I realise is that when you're in school, you learn more intensely, but you actually learn less efficiently. I think if you're doing GCSEs or A levels, it's easier in school because there's so much work that you actually need it to be. It's helpful to have a whole team of people organising your education and stuff like that.
Yes.
And it's really stressful to do GCSEs at home because it's just a really big workload. But I think in home ed, you get to kind of grow beyond your peers in certain areas. So music and history were 2 areas in which I really developed.
How do you guys go about finding like activities and classes and
well, we find each other on Facebook now, you know, in the deep dark path. Yeah, we had to find each other, you know, in toddler groups before, and then it moved on to email lists, and now we have social media and WhatsApp, things like that. But we can also join into community groups, which is really my preference. I like to, well, only Max is home educated now, and I like to put him into groups like acting classes and choir and sports that kind of exist outside the home ed community for a few reasons. I think that's quite healthy. Although, you know, he does meet up with home ed friends for various activities still.
Yeah. So Max, what is currently your favourite subject at the moment? Because you're quite musical as well, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm musical, but mainly I like art. So that's always been an interest of mine ever since I was quite little, because I think me and Aki have always done a lot of things and had a lot of interest, so we could expand those as we got older.
Yeah.
So yeah, art is my main interest.
We are at the moment, we're working on our Silver Arts Awards, and you guys did bronze as well, with a couple of other people. And for your first projects you did in bronze, you did quite a musical project, and now you're sort of moving towards arts and graphics, aren't you? How are you guys finding like the difference between the bronze arts award and the silver one?
I think in ways it's quite similar to the bronze, but it works on a lot of the areas more in detail. Like, you might interview someone and that will give you experience in that regard. So there's a lot of things you can...
Yeah, there's a lot more research.
There's more research, and I think it's a good way to learn other skills alongside it. That's quite useful if you're ever doing other things like this.
Yeah, I think with the silver one, there's a lot more. I think you have to be organised a lot more, don't you, in terms of your planning and your research. But the projects that you guys are working on are really exciting. Atticus, do you want to tell everyone your project that you're working on at the moment for your Arts Award?
I am recording an EP of songs that I've written, and so I'm currently I've done research on and then I'm also gonna interview some people and obviously record the EP. So today I've been recording the piano parts for the songs, and then I'll do the vocal parts. But it's quite fun, and also it gives me the opportunity to record some material that I'd written.
Yeah, exactly. And are you gonna? We're gonna put this out, hopefully, aren't we? So that should be quite exciting. And Max, do you want to tell people what you're doing for your project?
Yeah, so I'm working on album cover currently. So there's a lot of things like drafting different ones and doing research of photography and graphic design. And then I'm also going to be hosting an album art exhibition. So that's the second part of the project. So that will be sort of like album covers throughout history, I guess, and how it evolved.
Yeah, amazing. And they're coming along really nicely as well. I can't wait to host the events so everyone can see what you guys have been working on. So how have you guys, tell me a little bit about how have you guys managed over the last year and a half with, home educating and stuff? Has it meant that a lot of your projects and classes have been put on hold? Or how have you found adapting to online?
A very strange period to home educate, because previously we were not home very often, because we were always going out and about to museums and exhibitions and groups and activities and classes. Suddenly it was very isolating, which is, of course, the thing that people always worry about with home editors, but it's usually the opposite of what really goes on in a home ed life. So on the other hand,
so it sounds like you're really out and about.
And I mean, we live in central London, so
that sounds amazing.
It's great. But on the other hand, home ed helped my children to adapt to lockdown life because they were used to kind of pursuing their own interests and not being being constrained by a curriculum. So both of them kind of got really into a few topics, and that helped them to pass the time without being too bored. And music obviously was a huge part of that, because when you have music, then I mean you have something to do all day long anywhere.
Yeah. And I think adapting to the whole Zoom thing, I mean, we're on Zoom right now. That wasn't really much of a thing before. So I think there have been some good things to come out of it, like the way we're learning as well. Like we can do a lot more online over Zoom. Like we've been doing our arts awards over Zoom and online, and I think they've been going quite well. We can share screens, we can share documents and stuff all together. So it's been really easy. But I do wonder if this was, this pandemic was 10 years ago, how, or even longer, how it would have all been different.
Would have been much more dystopian.
Like online learning. Yes, exactly. Okay, so I've only got a couple more questions for you. So do you have any tips for people who might be interested in homeschooling or home education?
My tip is to do it and to try and to trust yourself and to trust your children, because children will they want to learn and they will get into things. But don't be afraid.
Yes.
To take your time to find a way of doing it that works for your family. Don't really rely on tips from people like me, because every family is different, every child is different, every home educating parent is different. So you really have to find your way and find your niche.
Yeah, because I think it could be quite daunting as a parent to sort of take that responsibility on and finding stuff for them. But I think, like you said, like don't panic. I think you'll find something that works.
There are many reasons to home educate, and so finding the people to home educate alongside is the first challenge, because people do it for ideological reasons, religious reasons, medical, psychological reasons. Some people want to hothouse their children. Some people are into radical unschooling. There are a lot of people, and if you listen to everyone, you might feel really overwhelmed. So what you need to do is to really trust your own family to find its way.
Yes, yeah. Amazing. Well, one last question for you guys. So do you have any tips for anyone interested in doing the Arts Awards as well?
Well, I would say, I guess you should be committed to the subject you're doing. And you should, I guess, if you're picking an arts award to do, you should like the subject and you should take your time to do the research and do it properly, because there are a lot of skills that can come out of it.
Yeah, I think that's the key one, is to don't skimp on the research as well, because that will really help you later on with your project, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for talking to me today. And I will speak to you guys soon. Thank you for being on the podcast.
No problem. I just wanted to say, Katie, that actually doing these arts awards at Planet Drum have been one of the best and most important things we've done.
I'm so glad.
As a home educating family. Because, we shouldn't need to prove what we have learned. But that's not the point of learning. But it is really useful to do something in a structured way, to be able to use the skills that you will later use in a workplace or at university if you're going to go there, to research, to log what you've done, to write about it, to be guided in your thinking. It's really useful, and particularly for home educators, it's really useful. And if, like us, you're going to send your children to school later, then it's a great way to show a school that you're capable of buckling down and doing,
definitely
serious formal work within your special interest.
Yeah, definitely. I think because managing a project by yourself is quite a mature thing to do. Like you'll do that later on in life all the
Absolutely.
time. So it's such a good skill to have. And you gain a qualification as well alongside it. So yeah, they're really good fun. I'm glad.
Yeah, it's great.
Thank you very much. And I will speak to you guys soon.